Hey everybody, welcome to Act 2 of this week's Extra Time. How did he miss that? Back in March, many of us thought this would be the year of the young striker. There was a ton of youthful talent just waiting to break out. Three guys in particular seemed the most likely candidates: Toronto's Chad Barrett, Real Salt Lake's Yura Movsisyan, and Seattle's FREDY MONTERO. We thought we'd take a look at these three, and with some help from MLS stats guru Peter Hirdt, who has joined us again from the Elias Sports Bureau. Thank you very much for joining us. We figured we would, figure out why they're wasting all their chances. So let's start off with Chad Barrett, actually, who he's now in his 5th season in the league. Barrett has only 2 goals despite taking 27 shots this season. He's started every game, had a nice goal against Montreal in the Canadian Championship, but he seems to be missing a lot of easy chances. What's going on with Chad Barrett?
Well, that's been a criticism of Barrett for as long as he's been in the league, but it masks the fact that he's been a pretty solid goal scorer, 6 or 7 goals a year guy, pretty consistently. And if you look at what he did in his last 2.5 seasons with the Fire, he was their leading goal scorer, tied with Chris Ralph during that time. Then he came to Toronto last summer, and since he joined Toronto, guess what? He's their leading goal scorer. He's a good player who can create fine space, and he can make his own shots, especially off his right foot. Scores with his head occasionally, scores from outside the penalty box. He's going to miss some shots. That's sort of like Dwight Howard missing foul shots, but at least Dwight Howard gets to the line.
Well, that's a good point about that he's getting in good positions.
Well, listen, I have to temper my feelings because they're strikers. They're all crybabies and prima donnas. But yes, when you're in a what I call a goal scoring drought, you have to continue as a striker to do those other things: win a ball in the air, make a good run into the space. He's got De Rosario now coming out, as a support player. So inexplicable really why, for me, strikers go into scoring droughts, but he's a young player. He's got to continue to work hard.
Well, it's also, he is getting into good positions, and obviously that's what the coach loves about it. So, and same is said actually for Yura Movsisyan out at Real Salt Lake, who has had the same number of shots as Chad Barrett, 27, but he's only scored 1 goal so far in the season. He has all the tools, and last year he showed that, especially toward the end of the season. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, he can score, he's got a great wicked shot when he takes it, but it's just not clicking for him.
Well, he came in last year. Over the last 6 or 8 weeks of the season, the only goal scorers in the league who could match him were Landon Donovan and Connor Casey. He was terrific. Came in this season, he led the league in shots during the month of April, and since then he has 4 shots taken in 4 games. He's become literally a marked man. Teams now know that they need to stop Movsisyan.
Well, I think that's a good point, but I think you have to factor in also Salt Lake has not been playing well. So a striker is as good as his team, and I think as a team they really haven't been giving him enough support.
And is there a confidence issue for him though? When your team's not doing well and you're a striker up top and you're looking back and you're maybe not getting that service, how much of it is confidence for a young player?
I think for a young player, yes. I think for a seasoned veteran, they know they're going to go through periods of time. As long as they're getting their chances, they're okay. Maybe he does, Movsisyan, have a confidence problem.
Well, he was also making some of his shots, which is one of those things that he was doing earlier in the season. Maybe he's not doing that as much. And Morales isn't playing very well, so that certainly doesn't help any striker. Well, Seattle's FREDY MONTERO started off looking like he was going to be the next Romario. He was incredible. He scored 3 goals in 2 games, and he now hasn't scored in his last 5 games, and the Sounders have only 1 win over that same time. What's going on with FREDY MONTERO?
I think part of the problem was just what you said. He had a great opening night. It was opening night, national TV, ESPN, a Thursday night, big crowd, Drew Carey. He scores 2 terrific goals. And the entire league now is unnoticed that you've got to stop FREDY MONTERO. So what happens? He goes out the next week. Real Salt Lake fouls him 5 times in the first half. First time in a year that any player was fouled 5 times in the first half. He scores another goal. Next week it comes out, plays the Wizards. Wizards foul him 5 times. And now we have to find out whether he's going to be Carlos Ruiz, the kind of guy who gets knocked down and gets up again, or whether he's going to be the FREDY MONTERO who hasn't taken a shot in the last 300 minutes.
Great point. But I think there are 2 factors that add to what you're saying. The physicality of the league. I think for FREDY MONTERO, boom, boom. Right. Welcome to Major League Soccer.
He looks a little scared out there now, right?
He looks like he's jumping away from tackles, but also the chemistry with Freddie Lundberg. Those guys have to get assimilated, get acclimated, play together, have the chemistry. I think FREDY MONTERO has a world of talent.
So if you're one of the coaches, let's say you're Jason Kreis, and you're looking at Yura Movsisyan, and you're saying, how do I get this guy going? What are you doing to work with them?
Well, for those young players that we've talked about, Chad Barrett, Movsisyan, and FREDY MONTERO, I think it's about to give them confidence. I think they all need a pat on the back. I don't think they need a kick in the rear end. I think the coaches have to say, keep getting your chances, the goals will come.
Maybe also there's a question of whether they might lose their starting position also for any of these guys, and maybe put them on the bench once and say, here's a little motivation, welcome to the real world about it.
But for any young goal scorer, it's probably never easier to score a goal in MLS than when you first come into the league, before you've made a name for yourself. If you look at the players who've scored 20 goals in MLS, there have been 9 of them, and 8 did it in their first season and never did it again.
That's a great stat right there. That's
Good
all
stuff.
it has. Well, thank you very much, Peter, for joining us today. It was great stuff. And on Thursday, we will be talking about what's going to happen this weekend and whether one of these guys might get a goal.